Peter, would love to get to as many teams as we possibly can in the SEC. So I'm going to start close to home. You love your Bayou Bengals. I'm trying to figure this team out because I know they're good. I know there's talent there, but I hear about the worst secondary they ever had last year and that it's been somewhat fixed. Blake Baker comes in from Mizzou to fix problems. I hear about a defensive front that usually is dominant, that has a ton of question marks. No proven like star running back. I know that the wide receiver position should take care of itself with Kyron Lacy and
Yep.
others. Jaden Daniels was the offense. Garrett Nussmeier is good. I believe he's going to be good, but Jaden Daniels was Superman.
Well, and the way he did it was different, right? I mean, he became such a pain for every defender because not only could he throw the deep ball very accurately, but he also could take off and run. And when he did, he was a cheetah. I mean, I was there on the field watching him just gash Florida defenders. And like, there's a different speed that he had, right? And Garrett Nussmeier is not that. Garrett Nussmeier is by far much of a pocket passing quarterback. But also, I think LSU and Brian Kelly's smart enough to understand that they're not going to run that same offense that they did last year. Joe Sloan, as their new offensive coordinator, realized that this might be the best offensive line that LSU possibly has had in the last 2 decades. And so I do think that it's going to be a lot more running the ball. I do think it's going to be a lot more, kind of shorter length passes, kind of how Oregon run their offense a little bit more of last year, as opposed to a real vertical passing attack with Garrett Nussmeier. And Brian Kelly, told me over at Media Days last week, he goes, Garrett Nussmeier's been careless, right? But he's no different than careless it's like having a car that you borrow from somebody that you're like, all right, it's not my car, right? But now when it's your keys and you just, bought the vehicle, like you wash it every day, you keep it, you make sure it's nice and clean. He's like, Nussmeier's understanding that, hey, this is now his vehicle. The keys to the program are his, and he's acted a completely, a lot different, especially in some of those fall practices.
Is the dividing line for LSU basically, we got to make the playoff this year for this to be a successful season?
Yeah, I mean, that's the dividing line for LSU every single year, regardless if it's 2 teams, 4 teams, 12 teams, or however many teams are in the playoff. The defense is going to be better, mostly because it can't be any worse. And offensively, let's say last year they were on a 10, they could still be an 8.5. But the defense last year was about a 2. That's why they couldn't win the games that they needed to, especially Ole Miss. So if that defense can get to like a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, and Harold Perkins is in a better position to become a star, then all of a sudden, yeah, I mean that opener against USC, if they win, I don't see 3 other losses on their schedule, and a 10-2 with that schedule is probably going to the college football playoff.
You hit on a guy that I'm not questioning the guys that know the X's and O's because their coaching staff certainly knows more than I do of what to do with Harold Perkins. But wasn't this guy arguably the best defensive player in college football 2 years ago? It just seemed like every game he wrecked, and they seem to be kind of boxing him into this inside linebacker spot.
Well, and that's on LSU's coaching staff, and it's also on Perkins and his team as well too, because everybody that came in, it's not only, hey, are you a great college football player, but how are they getting you prepared for the next level? And I think with Perkins is, he wanted to learn middle linebacker. He understood that, hey, he's a little bit undersized, so if he's going to play, he wants to be more of a linebacker type guy. And so last year they tried to put him in that role. They had him try to kind of think and react a little bit more. And Harold Perkins is a guy that you just want to get on the field and go, dude, see ball, go get ball. And I think that's where they're going to put him in a position last year. So, yeah, I mean, they tried, but also I think there wasn't this, it was frustrating for everybody, including Harold Perkins, who wanted to strive at that position, but it just wasn't the right fit for him.